Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Prashant Kumar Sinha with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for increased COVID-19 testing and contact tracing in states with high caseload. Coronavirus recovery rate close to 70% across the country. Defence Acquisition Council approves procurement worth 8,722 crore rupees, including 106 basic trainer aircraft for Indian Air Force. Renowned lyricist and poet Rahat Indori passes away. And Russia launches first coronavirus vaccine in the world, President Putin's daughter among those inoculated. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stressed on the need to increase testing in states where testing rate is low and positive rate is high, particularly in Bihar, Gujarat, UP, West Bengal and Telangana. He was interacting with chief ministers of 10 states through video conferencing today.
जिन राज्यों में टेस्टिंग रेट कम है और जहां पॉजिटिव रेट ज्यादा है, वहां टेस्टिंग बढ़ाने की जरूरत सामने आई है। खासतौर पर बिहार, गुजरात, यूपी, पश्चिम बंगाल और तेलंगाना। यहां टेस्टिंग बढ़ाने पर खास बल देने की बात हम लोगों की बातचीत में से उभर करके आ रही है। साथियों, अब तक का हमारा अनुभव है कि कोरोना के खिलाफ कंटेनमेंट, कॉन्टैक्ट ट्रेसिंग और सर्वेलेंस ये सबसे प्रभावी हथियार है। अब जनता भी इस बात को समझ रही है, लोग पूरी तरह सहयोग भी कर रहे हैं।
The Prime Minister said with collective efforts, India will win the fight against COVID-19. He said the most important thing is that people's confidence has increased and the fear has gone down. Mr. Modi said efforts to contain the COVID-19 pandemic are proving effective as the percentage of active cases has decreased and recovery rate has increased.
टेस्टिंग की संख्या बढ़कर हर दिन 7 लाख तक पहुंच चुकी है और लगातार बढ़ भी रही है। इससे संक्रमण को पहचानने और रोकने में जो मदद मिल रही है, आज हम उसके परिणाम देख रहे हैं। हमारे यहाँ एवरेज फर्टिलिटी रेट संतोष की बात है कि ये लगातार और कम हो रहा है। एक्टिव केसेस का प्रतिशत कम हुआ है, रिकवरी रेट लगातार सुधरता जा रहा है। तो इसका अर्थ ये है कि हमारे प्रयास कारगर सिद्ध हो रहे हैं।
He said the states learnt a lot from each other's experiences through today's interaction. The Prime Minister said contact tracing, containment and surveillance are the most effective weapons against COVID-19. He said experts are now saying if cases are identified within 72 hours of onset, infection slows down to a great extent. He said besides the testing network, Arogya Setu app also helps in contact tracing, containment and surveillance. He interacted with the chief ministers of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Maharashtra, Punjab, Bihar, Gujarat, Telangana and Uttar Pradesh.
The Health Ministry today said that successful implementation of containment strategy and aggressive testing coupled with standardized clinical management of critical patients has resulted in an increase of the COVID-19 recovery rate. It is currently at nearly 70% across the country, while the case fatality rate has fallen below 2%. The ministry said with more patients recuperating and being discharged from hospitals and home isolation, the total recoveries has jumped to 15,83,489. 47,746 patients were discharged in a span of 24 hours. The national recovery rate has risen to 69.80%. The actual caseload of active cases is at 6,39,929, which is only 28.21% of the total number of positive cases. With a consistent and sustained increase in recoveries, the gap between recovered patients and active COVID-19 cases has reached nearly 9.5 lakhs, and the gap between the percentage of recoveries and percentage of active cases of COVID-19 is growing every day. Focus on improved and effective clinical treatment in hospitals, use of non-invasive, improved and coordinated services of ambulances for ferrying patients for prompt and timely treatment has resulted in seamless and efficient patient management of COVID-19 persons. As a result, the case fatality rate CFR, which has been low as compared to the global average, has fallen below 2% and currently stands at 1.99%. India's COVID-19 caseload rose to 22,68,675 with 53,601 new infections being reported in a day. The death toll climbed to 45,257 with 871 people succumbing to the disease in a span of 24 hours. The Union Health Ministry today said an expert committee under the chairmanship of Niti Aayog member Dr. V.K. Paul will meet tomorrow to consider the logistics and ethical aspects of procuring and administering the COVID-19 vaccine. The ministry said in a tweet that the Committee on Vaccine Administration will engage with all stakeholders, including state governments and vaccine manufacturers.
In our series Experts Speak on All India Radio, we bring you views of leading medical experts on COVID-19. Speaking to AIR News, Dr. Saurabh Mehrotra, consultant at Mental Health Division in Medanta Hospital, emphasized that people should indulge in positive activities. He said special care should be taken not to overexpose oneself to excessive COVID-related news, which leads to anxiety-related issues.
We encourage people to engage in positive addiction. Now, positive addiction serve the purpose of reducing our stress, reducing our anxiety, also enhancing a sense of well-being. So, positive addictions would include the creative arts, such as drawing, writing, painting, music, dancing, playing a game with family members. And we've got to reduce our consumption of the social media significantly, particularly the news, as far as information about COVID-19 is concerned.
Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Edappadi Palaniswamy has appealed to the centre to grant special funds to combat the pandemic. During Prime Minister Narendra Modi's interaction with the Chief Ministers of 10 states, Mr. Palaniswamy placed his request for the funds and materials. He said the sustained efforts to prevent the spread of COVID-19 has helped in controlling the situation. The total COVID-19 infection in the state has risen to more than 3,08,000 with 5,834 people confirmed positive today. Over 2,50,000 of them have recovered. More from our correspondent.
During Prime Minister Narendra Modi's interaction, Chief Minister Edappadi Palaniswamy placed his demand for the centre to give a special grant of 9,000 crore rupees to the state. He said it is to make up for the loss of tax revenue during the pandemic that may lead to a shortfall of the budget estimates. He wanted the centre's emergency response and health systems preparedness package for the state to be enhanced to 3,000 crore rupees. He also insisted releasing an ad hoc grant of 1,000 crore rupees under the National Disaster Relief Fund. He sought help to procure high-end ventilators and asked to provide nearly 66,000 metric tons of tur dal for supply through the public distribution system till November. Jai Singh, AIR News, Chennai.
In the Union Territory of Puducherry, 276 more persons tested positive for COVID-19 and 2 succumbed to it. At present, there are 2,277 active cases in the Union Territory. A report.
According to the COVID-19 status report released by the Health Department today, 241 new cases were reported in Puducherry region, 30 in Karaikal and 5 in Yanam region. As many as 172 persons were treated and discharged. Presently, 1,053 persons are being treated in Puducherry, 161 in Karaikal GH, 114 in Yanam GH and 3 in Mahe GH. Another 946 positive cases are under home isolation. So far, 5,900 persons were infected by the virus, of which 3,532 were treated and discharged. 91 died, leaving 2,277 active cases. Chandramohan, AIR News, Puducherry.
The Andhra Pradesh government is initiating all steps to control the pandemic. At least 25,34,304 samples have been tested so far in the state. Several mobile vehicles have been deployed across the state to conduct COVID-19 tests, and the state COVID control room is monitoring the situation continuously. On an average, Andhra Pradesh reported 10,000 positive cases daily during the past week. It decreased to 7,665 yesterday. The state's COVID-19 tally has risen to 2,35,525. The death toll due to the virus has gone up to 2,116, with 80 new fatalities reported during the past 24 hours. Karnataka today asked the Prime Minister to issue new guidelines to utilize final year MBBS and degree students for COVID mitigation duties to ensure adequate supply of trained medical professionals. The Medical Education Minister in the state, Dr. K. Sudhakar, informed this after a video conference with the Prime Minister today. In the absence of Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa, who is in home quarantine, the Deputy Chief Minister, Dr. C.N. Ashwath Narayan, had briefed the Prime Minister along with his cabinet colleagues and senior officers. During the press conference later, Dr. K. Sudhakar informed that a request was made to the Prime Minister to increase seats of graduates in medical courses by 10,000 and MBBS seats by 2,000 in the state. He said the Prime Minister has asked the state to focus on reducing the fatality rate to 1% and to ensure contact tracing up to 70% to control the spread of the virus. Kerala reported more recoveries than new COVID cases today, as 1,417 new cases were confirmed and 1,426 persons recovered from the virus infection in the state. A report.
Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, while addressing the media in Thiruvananthapuram, said that locally transmitted COVID cases are on a rise in the state, as among the new cases, 1,242 COVID cases were contracted through contact. Mr. Vijayan informed that restrictions will be further tightened in containment and COVID clusters. Meanwhile, as 5 more deaths were confirmed today due to COVID, the death toll reached 120 in the state. Presently, 12,721 active COVID cases are there in Kerala. Mayusha for AR News from Thiruvananthapuram.
Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray today said the state government is planning to set up dedicated hospitals in all districts to control the spread of coronavirus. In his interaction with Prime Minister Narendra Modi through video conferencing, Mr. Thackeray said efforts are on to reduce mortality rate and prevent a second wave of infection, if any. It may be noted that Maharashtra is among the worst affected states, with a case count of over 5.25 lakh and death toll of over 18,000. A report.
During the interaction, Mr. Thackeray informed the Prime Minister that the state has a capacity of 3.5 lakh beds equipped with ventilators and other facilities to treat coronavirus patients. The Chief Minister reiterated his demand for not holding final year examinations for students of non-professional courses to ensure their safety amidst the raging pandemic. Meanwhile, the high voltage and much anticipated Dahi Handi festival that is celebrated with much fervour in Mumbai is likely to be a low-key affair this year. Most of the famous Dahi Handi events scheduled for tomorrow have been cancelled. These organizations, along with many others, have decided to instead hold Arogya Utsav, wherein health camps for senior citizens and blood and plasma donation camps will be organized across the state. Meanwhile, the ISKCON temple at Mumbai's Chowpatty will remain closed for devotees. However, people can watch the live streaming of all the rituals on the temple's YouTube and Facebook channels. Nisha Rani, AIR News, Mumbai.
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has directed officials to increase COVID beds of L2 and L3 category in 6 cities where the number of COVID cases is on the rise. He also directed for effective contact tracing and door-to-door survey, along with improvement in surveillance to curb the spread of coronavirus. More from our correspondent.
Special directions have been given to increase the number of COVID beds in Lucknow, Prayagraj, Bareilly, Gorakhpur, Varanasi and Kanpur districts. Chief Minister also directed officials to complete the construction work of a special COVID hospital in KGMU Lucknow as early as possible and start its functioning by the end of this month. This under construction hospital has dedicated 319 beds for COVID treatment. After completion of the work, it will become the second largest COVID dedicated hospital in a state after the recently inaugurated COVID hospital in Gautam Buddha Nagar, Noida. Meanwhile, state capital Lucknow recorded highest number of 831 new corona cases in last 24 hours in state. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
Nagaland today reported 20 new COVID-19 positive cases, taking the total confirmed cases in the state to 3,031. The Health and Family Welfare Minister in a tweet informed that out of 192 samples tested, 10 new positive cases have been detected from Kohima, 9 in Dimapur and 1 from Chuinsang. Among the positive cases reported, 13 are from the armed forces, 3 from traced contacts and 2 each from returnees and frontline workers. In addition, 12 people have also recovered today, taking the recovery tally to 985. In the last 24 hours, 88 persons, including 13 personnel from Central Armed Police Forces, were confirmed as new COVID-19 positive in Manipur. A 60-year-old person from Imphal East District died due to COVID-19 and other health conditions. Out of the new positive cases, 73 are locals who do not have travel history and suspected to be infected with the virus through local transmission. So far, Manipur has recorded total positive cases of 3,941, out of which 2,155 have recovered and been discharged from different COVID care centres. The number of active cases now stand at 1,774, whereas the total number of deaths is 12. The recovery rate is 54.68%. A newly set up 100-bed COVID care centre was inaugurated at Thoubal district of Manipur today by the State Education Minister Thokchom Radesham. The centre is set up at Lamding Higher Secondary School of Wangjing, Thoubal district. With the new centre, the district has 3 COVID care centres now.
The Railway Protection Force, RPF, of the North-East Frontier Railways has contributed in fighting the pandemic and is also providing help to needy persons as frontline warriors. Official sources in Guwahati said that 1.5 lakh food packets were distributed to the needy villagers and downtrodden people by them. Besides, 642 Shramik and 16 pairs of special trains were effectively escorted by RPF personnel during the past few months. On the other hand, due to relentless vigilance, the RPF has managed to rescue 135 destitute children in the northeast. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for increased COVID-19 testing and contact tracing in states with high case load. Coronavirus recovery rate close to 70% across the country. Defence Acquisition Council approves procurement worth 8,722 crore rupees, including 106 basic trainer aircraft for the Indian Air Force. Renowned lyricist and poet Rahat Indori passes away, and Russia launches first coronavirus vaccine in the world. President Putin's daughter among those inoculated. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alert.
Russia has developed the first vaccine against the coronavirus. The announcement was made by President Vladimir Putin during a televised video conference call with ministers today. He said one of his daughters has already been inoculated. As the number of coronavirus cases continues to rise at an alarming rate across the globe, scientists and medical experts are making accelerated efforts to develop a vaccine fit for human use. Currently, there are more than 160 vaccine candidates in different stages of production, and 27 of these have reached human trials. While the vaccine created by Oxford University and drug maker AstraZeneca is considered one of the front runners in the race to develop a coronavirus vaccine, Russia today became the first country in the world to launch its very own coronavirus vaccine. Russia currently has 2 COVID-19 vaccine candidates in the race. Russia will reportedly begin producing the vaccine soon and already has plans for a massive countrywide vaccine drive. Back home, the government today said that 91 Jan Aushadhi Kendras have been opened in Jammu and Kashmir and 3 in Ladakh region between January and July this year. Chemical and Fertilizer Ministry said Bureau of Pharma PSUs of India, BPPI, has opened these Jan Aushadhi Kendras with an aim of making available quality generic medicines at an affordable price to the residents of these regions. The total sales in last 1 year has crossed 4 crore 39 lakh rupees in Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, which led to total savings of 31 crore rupees for residents of this area. The ministry said the government of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh have proposed to open 73 new Jan Aushadhi Kendras, for which locations have already been identified. BPPI have supplied over 1 crore 56 lakh sanitary pads to Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. The National Health Mission has been distributing these pads free of cost to young girls and women as a part of Rashtriya Kishore Swasthya Karyakram.
The government today dismissed a report in an English daily which states that the Indian Army has conducted a formal inquiry into the Galwan Valley clash on the 15th of June and a report has been submitted. In a tweet, the Press Information Bureau clarified that no such inquiry has been conducted or ordered by the Indian Army. The Defence Acquisition Council DAC today approved procurement proposals worth over 8,722 crore rupees. It includes 106 basic trainer aircraft for the Indian Air Force. The decision has been taken during the DAC meeting chaired by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in New Delhi to strengthen the armed forces by relying on indigenous capability to take forward the initiative on Atmanirbhar Bharat. With HAL having successfully developed basic trainer aircraft HTT-40 prototypes and certification process underway, the DAC approved procurement of basic trainer aircraft from HAL to address the basic training requirements of the Indian Air Force. Post-certification, 70 basic trainer aircraft will be initially procured from HAL and the balance 36 after operationalization of the HTT-40 fleet in the IAF. The DAC also approved procurement of an upgraded version of Super Rapid Gun Mount SRGM, which is fitted as the main gun on board Navy and Indian Coast Guard warships from BHEL to improve the firepower of the Indian Navy. The upgraded version of SRGM has enhanced capability to perform against fast maneuvering targets like missiles and fast attack crafts and to increase the maximum engagement range. Besides, the Council cleared procurement of 125mm armor-piercing, fin-stabilized discarding Sabot APF SDS ammunition for the Indian Army as a design and development case. The ammunition being procured will have a 70% indigenous content. The DAC also gave approvals that are likely to speed up the procurement of 8K203 and unmanned aerial vehicle upgrades.
The Prime Minister launched financing facility of 1 lakh crore rupees under the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. It is aimed to transform farmers into entrepreneurs in line with the vision of doubling farmers' income. Our Bengaluru correspondent has filed this report about the utility of this announcement in Karnataka.
After the announcement of 1 lakh crore package by the Prime Minister, NABARD has identified 163 primary agricultural credit societies, PACs, in Karnataka in the first phase for the creation of agricultural infrastructure with concessional refinance and interest subvention under Agriculture Infrastructure Fund with net interest of 1%. The Vice Chancellor of Central Agricultural University in Imphal, S. Ayyappan, who is also the Chairperson of Science and Technology Academy in Karnataka, spoke to AIR on the significance of Prime Minister's announcement.
This scheme of Atmanirbhar in agriculture is a major step for all of us to derive benefits and see that agriculture becomes more profitable and more remunerative and at the same time sustainable and resilient. Agri startups are also coming in a big way and this has been given a big push. So value addition post-harvest management assumes greater significance, an amount of primary processing and value addition that goes into it, which is a step towards doubling farmers' income being discussed for the last few years.
Karnataka is one of the 3 states in the country selected by Prime Minister's office for formal launch of Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. On this occasion, NABARD Regional Office handed over the in-principle sanction to 163 PACs. These credit societies will develop into one-point solution to all the needs of the farmers like warehouse, high-tech equipments, processing center, information dissemination center, buyer's market, among others. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
The Tribal Affairs Ministry is developing tribal freedom fighters museums dedicated to the contributions of the tribal people in India to the freedom struggle. Out of 9 sanctioned museums, 2 museums are near completion and the remaining 7 are at different stages of progress. The ministry said by the end of 2022, all the museums will come into existence. In Madhya Pradesh, noted Urdu poet and lyricist Rahat Indori died of cardiac arrest in Indore today. He was also tested positive for COVID-19. The 70-year-old poet was undergoing treatment at Sri Aurobindo Institute of Medical Sciences in Indore.
कहता हूँ कि बुलाती है मगर जाने का नहीं, बुलाती है मगर जाने का नहीं। ये ज़मीं भी सर पे रखनी हो तो रखो, चले हो तो ठहर जाने का नहीं.
With a 50-year career in poetry, Rahat Indori was known for the lyrics of hit films like Munna Bhai MBBS, Qareeb, Ghatak and Ishq. Indori did his schooling from Nutan School and his graduation from Islamia Karimia College, Indore. He passed his MA exam in Urdu literature from Barkatullah University, Bhopal in 1975 and was awarded a PhD in Urdu literature from the Bhoj University in 1985. Rahat Saab had faced poverty in his childhood, so in his words, people could see the truth of life. There are famous lines of Rahat Sahab which look right on him today.
कह रहा हूं कि कश्ती तेरा नसीब चमकदार कर दिया, कश्ती तेरा नसीब चमकदार कर दिया, इस पार के थपेड़ों ने उस पार कर दिया. अफवाह थी कि मेरी तबीयत खराब है, लोगों ने पूछ पूछ के बीमार कर दिया. और 2 गज सही, मगर ये मेरी मिल्कियत तो है. ए मौत, तूने मुझको जमींदार कर दिया.
संजीव शर्मा, AIR न्यूज, भोपाल.
The European Union today said it is providing 1.65 million euros in humanitarian aid in response to severe flooding that has affected South Asia, most notably Bangladesh, India and Nepal. The funding comes on top of the 1.8 million euros announced earlier this year to support families affected by a series of disasters, including Cyclone Umphan that ravaged India and Bangladesh in May. In a statement, the EU's European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operation said this brings the total EU support to victims of disasters in the region to 3.45 million euros. Our correspondent reports a further 5 lakh euros will be used in India to provide food and livelihood assistance, emergency relief supplies, and water and sanitation services. In the massive landslide that hit Rajmala in Idukki district on Friday, 52 people have died as 3 more dead bodies were recovered from the site today. Even as the intensity of rain in the state reduced, the hilly regions remain on high alert. Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital Delhi will have generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. It will have a minimum temperature of around 27 degrees Celsius and maximum of 32 degrees. Mumbai will see generally cloudy sky with heavy rain. The minimum temperature will be 26 degrees and the maximum will be around 30 degrees Celsius. On to north in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the minimum temperature will be 26 degrees in Jammu, while the maximum will be around 34. The city will have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain or thunderstorm or dust storm. In Srinagar, the minimum temperature will be around 17 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be at 34 degrees Celsius. The city will see a mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Ladakh will have mainly clear skies. The temperature will hover between 17 degrees Celsius and 31 degrees Celsius. In Gilgit, the temperature will hover between 18 degrees and 36 degrees Celsius. It will see a partly cloudy sky becoming generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening or night. In Muzaffarabad, there will be a partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain or thunderstorm or dust storm. Chennai will have partly cloudy skies tomorrow. The temperature will hover between 27 degrees Celsius and 35 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will witness partly cloudy skies with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. The minimum temperature in the metropolis will be around 27 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be at 34 degrees Celsius.
Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises MSME Minister Nitin Gadkari has called upon Apparel Export Promotion Council to take measures to target doubling exports of apparels. He also emphasized on technology upgradation and research to improve quality and remain cost competitive in the global market. Inaugurating the virtual workshop, a joint initiative of Apparel Export Promotion Council and MSME Ministry through video conference, Mr. Gadkari said the government is providing support through a package announced recently for liquidity and stress management in the MSME sector. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for increased COVID-19 testing and contact tracing in states with high caseload. Coronavirus recovery rate close to 70% across the country. Defence Acquisition Council approves procurement worth 8,722 crore rupees, including 106 basic trainer aircraft for Indian Air Force. Renowned lyricist and poet Rahat Indori passes away. And Russia launches first coronavirus vaccine in the world, President Putin's daughter among those inoculated. And with that we end the evening news. Good night.